let's talk about the Rays and the Orioles here. So the Rays, it's not the typical Rays we've seen over the last couple of years, guys. They've been struggling in the sense of they're missing some of their talented players. McClanahan, obviously, their ace is out. They traded away Glasnow. They are trying to figure out who they are. And usually they're a team that really produces well talent-wise. But they're trying to scratch and claw. And now they're coming to Baltimore. Yes, a little bit of heroics. You beat the A's. Now you're getting the Orioles here, which the Orioles last year down the stretch, guys, really did put it to Tampa Bay en route to stealing the division. The biggest thing right now, I think, projected starters for the Orioles, if I'm not mistaken, Albert Suarez and Cole Irvin are going to be getting the starts for the Orioles.
And Kyle Bradish
on Kyle Saturday. Bradish. The reason why I want to bring up those two guys is because guys that flip-flopping in the pen, starting, and that actually, personally, is an advantage for the Orioles that those two guys can do that. With their injuries, having guys that can flip-flop like that makes it a massive advantage. But for the Rays, like you talked about Jose Siri, they still got some players that can show up in big moments. And it's not like Tampa Bay hasn't played the Orioles a lot. They played them a ton. They're division rivals. They know the Orioles just as good as anybody.
Yeah, and I want to talk about a guy that the Orioles saw enough of over the past 2 years, but is off to arguably the worst start in all of Major League Baseball. Randy Arozarena, So he's currently batting 159, has a 258 on base percentage, 8 home runs, 19 RBIs, but it's just a complete struggle for him. He's one of the worst qualified hitters in all baseball right now. But I want to caution Orioles fans. Randy Arozarena is one of those guys where when he just sees the Orioles, it seems like he turns into a different human. So don't let those stats fool you. Randy Arozarena is capable at any time to just completely take over a series, especially he's known to do it against the Orioles. So he's a guy that I'm super intrigued about this series.
Yeah, you're wondering how good how did you get this mic to work, by the way,
Hold
Kevin?
on, I got it.
I'm
good.
I'm a Matt. Wait, do that again?
Didn't you do an ad for Blue Chew?
My first ever ad for Locked On was Blue Chew.
Yes, but what I wanted to say here, you can fix it if you want. Is this how you treat your stick, Kevin?
Wow. I don't know where the corn dog stick went. So
you're a good kid. You're a good kid. Now that it's fixed here, we want to talk about how good Randy Arozarena has been against the Orioles. You guys want to take a guess of what his batting average is against Baltimore?
350.
Hey, good guess. 338. He's got 66 hits, 16 jacks, 43 RBIs, and 32 runs scored in 50 career games against Baltimore.
Wow.
I don't want that to happen. I don't want him to get hot against Baltimore, but to drive home Zach's point, Jack or Zach. Zach is Kevin. Kevin, Zach. Zach is Jack. Randy Arozarena is a guy that's a talented player. And look, the Rays, he's struggling. They're not going to get rid of him. It's not ideal, but you got to ride with some superstars and hope that they're going to be able to figure it out. For the Orioles, though, this is the start of the gauntlet month, guys.
Yep.
And this series, when it's all said and done, the Orioles are going to be in June, and that off day is not going to come until they face the Yankees. In between the Phillies and the Yanks, I guess that's a nice scheduled off day for that one. But this is a big series to get your foot on the right track for what's going to be their most grueling month of the year.
Yeah, and AL East series, I mean, we know they're big, but Zach, what was the stat you read out on the stream? Was it last night or 2 nights? Yeah, last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Orioles in their last 18, last 18 series versus the AL East are 13-0-5. They have not lost a series against a team in the AL East, and I think over a year. I think it's like a year and a half.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, to me, I think too, you look at some of the team stats for the Rays and how they've been as a team this season. If you want to go to their hitting, I mean, they don't really hit for power at all. They're in the bottom part of the league in home runs. Average, it's not much better. So you're hoping that the pitching staff, particularly the bullpen, can be a little more consistent. We know the staff's been pretty consistent all year, the starters, but again, some consistency in the bullpen. But the Rays pitching, they do strike out a bunch of batters. They're actually in the top 6 in strikeouts, but in terms of walks, they don't really walk a ton of guys either. So I think that's good for them, but we know this Orioles offense, when they are on, they are on. So for me, if I'm talking about what I'm looking for in this series, hopefully it will be, again, like we've talked about on the post-game shows, consistency with runners in scoring position. You can rely on the long ball if you get guys on base, but you don't want to have 4 solo homers in a game, then lose the game 5-4. Bring in runs in a bunch of different ways. I think that's some of the things that I'm looking for. Ryan, Zach, Brad, do you have anything that you're looking for?
Yeah, I'd like to add on that, please. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tampa Bay. It's a unusual start for them, at least in the pitching department. Like you said, 4.22 ERA runs per game. That's what they're allowing, and that's not the Tampa standard. Especially they're able to cycle it. They're like almost this group that they have their pitchers ready to go in AAA to come to the big leagues. And when I was playing back in 21, they had guys having better numbers in the big leagues than they did in AAA. They just knew their roles and how to handle the situations. It's not the same Tampa Bay team right now, but having said that here, and we're looking at the bullpen for Tampa, it's all across the board that they're in uncharted waters. Their bullpen, which is supposed to be strong, is still also kind of at the bottom of the barrel, which I give this context of it for everyone that gets frustrated with what's going on with the Orioles. Orioles are still one of the best teams ERA-wise. They're still in that top tier, which we can't forget about. Now, the one thing that's going to be tested, speaking of bullpens, for this month of June is going to be this bullpen. And I told people this before when they're saying, apparently I don't criticize, and I'm not going to be a critical guy like that. Just not how I roll. We will be objective. After this month, we're going to know a lot more about where this bullpen is going to stand, because how much are they going to get used? Are they going to be overused? Do people get through some tough situations? And knocking on wood, do the Orioles stay healthy enough to get through those situations? So you got to keep that in mind here, that despite what's happened so far, the Orioles are in a good position. That's why we wanted to give the context about the Rays. The Rays are trying to stay above water. The Red Sox trying to stay above water right now. The Orioles, it's can you maintain for this month, assess your team, and then strike when the iron's hot here when it gets towards the deadline.
And Kevin, you talked about manufacturing runs and runners in scoring position. So Tampa Bay is tied for 21st with about 4 teams right now so they're 21st in the league in opposing batting average with runners in scoring position. So they are prone to allowing guys to manufacture runs and give up runs that way. And the Orioles have to take advantage of that. That's something we've hounded on the Orioles for the past 3-4 weeks. And it's something that if they want to beat the Tampa Bay Rays, they're going to have to not rely on the long ball and go out there and actually manufacture runs like we saw them do in Boston or against
Hey, you know what,
Boston.
though? Don't look now. But the Rays are also 5th in the league in stolen bases. So I'm not sure what the stat is, and I should have looked this up, but it seems to me, and just as the eye test of the games that I've watched, that there's a lot of runners or a lot of stolen bases on Orioles pitchers this season. It seems somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. So Tampa Bay has played a lot of a small ball that's kind of gotten them to where they're at right now. Anybody want to take a guess as to how Tampa Bay plays on Fridays, by the way? Can't believe the MLB has this stat up.
Enlighten us.
They're 2nd in the league in batting average on Fridays.
Why?
275.
I love that. If you go on MLB's stats, I'm assuming that's where you are. The splits that you can do is actually insane. I'm looking right now. You can get on Tuesday, on Saturday, you can get how they play when the pitcher is between 91 and 105 pitches.
Yeah. I love it.
It's incredible.
So they're batting 275 on Fridays anyway. The Braves.